Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started on this discussion to highlight exactly what changes are going to take place with the plumbing apprenticeship. My name's Jerry Whiteley. I'm the technical manager at the Chartered Institute of Plumbing and Heat Engineering. And the gentleman on my right is Mike Maskrey,
training manager.
So let's have a look at what we're doing. The road to a good apprenticeship is what we're developing. So on the first slide then, what we're looking at here is, how did this come about? Why is it the apprenticeship is changing? What's the need for that to happen? Well, as you can see in the second bullet point there, what is actually happening at the moment is an apprenticeship program that's just not working. The last year's achievement rates on the apprenticeship program are as low as 13%. And here we are in a skills crisis with no one getting through. So therefore, that's why the gentleman I can see sat there who spoke the other day, it is a skills crisis and we're not fixing this. So it affects every one of us here today. Everybody needs new blood coming through the ranks, and that's why. Now, how did that come about? We spoke with the Department for Education. I should have said I'll turn that round actually. They came to the CIPHE and spoke to us and said, what on earth is going on with plumbing? It used to be in the top 10 of achievement rates in the country. It's literally in the bottom 10 right now. And what is also happening all around us is a lot of the training providers are now stopping delivering it. So on that basis, it's going even worse. Now, the reason is why. There's issues around that, and we've looked at that. But what that led us into is this. We had to look at the evidence provided from training providers to give us that data. And here we are a year later, and I know now already that data is just as bad for what's going to come through this next year as well. That led into more conversations with regards to why, and I'll just click the next slide. So what we did through that discussion with what was then the Institute for Apprenticeships, that led into setting up an employer group. And that employer group then, we ran a survey as well on that basis, and the survey got a phenomenal result. You can see there, something like 380 responses, and it was overwhelming that they want to change. And that change is to bring back what we used to have. If it ain't broke, don't fix it scenario. Level 2 and level 3. And as you can see there, over 380 responses. Now, that was sort of unheard of, that you get that kind of response from any survey. It's difficult, isn't it, to get responses. So to get 380, that was great. So overwhelmingly, people want to see level 2 and level 3 brought back. And that was then put forward to CIPHE to make that proposal and develop what's known as a trailblazer group, an employer group. Over to you, Mike.
Okay, so what we did is we asked the industry if they would like to join our Plumbing Trailblazer group. Initially, it was just called the Plumbing Employers Group, because at that time, we'd not got a mandate from CIPHE to actually write the apprenticeship. That came much later. We had over 30 responses from industry. That's from small, medium, large, micro companies. They all wanted to get involved to bring back or to make the plumbing apprenticeship a good apprenticeship again. We asked them what they wanted, and the overwhelming support for a level 2, level 3 model was palpable. There was so much enthusiasm in the room for a level 2 and a level 3 apprenticeship that's the route that we went down in the end. Initially, it was called the Plumbing Employers Group, and then on the 13th of December last year, Jerry and myself and Kevin Warman, the CEO of the Chartered Institute of Plumbing, Heating and Engineering, we had a meeting with the route panel from CIPHE, and it was literally the route panel that decided whether we could have a level 2 and level 3 model. And my God, did they give us a grilling. I don't think I've ever been questioned so much about one subject in all my life. And we had to wait then for another week and a half before they came back and said, actually, yeah, we would really like you to do these apprenticeships. That's when the Plumbing Employers Group changed its name to the Plumbing Employers Trailblazer Group to signify the fact that we'd now got a mandate from CIPHE, as it was then, it's now Skills England, to actually run this, to carry it forward and write this apprenticeship. Next slide then, please, mate. Okay, so there are two standards that we're looking at. ST 1452, which is the level 2 domestic plumber standard, and ST 1463, which is the plumbing and heat, the advanced plumbing and heating engineering standard. Linked to those are 2 mandated qualifications that we're trying to get mandated quals through, and they are the level 2 diploma in plumbing installation and the level 3 diploma in advanced plumbing and heating engineering. We've been given the remit for the first time ever to use the word engineering at the end of our qualification, and that was given to us by the Engineering Council. So for the first time ever, we will have a level 3 advanced plumbing and heating engineering qualification. Next slide. Okay, as we've already stated, we changed the name of the employers group to the Plumbing Employers Trailblazer Group, and they meet quite regularly. We've not had a meeting for a while because we've literally had nothing to discuss, but we are working. Click it on the next slide, my friend. We're working so hard with what was CIPHE, it's now Skills England, to bring this forward as quickly as we can, to give us 2 very, very robust qualifications and 2 very, very robust standards. Do you want to take it from there, my friend?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So what that then brought in is to make sure that everything we do has clear transparency and clarity in everything that we do.
Yep.
And that was a really key thing to make sure that everybody who was available participates in this, and that's what we've achieved. So we've really got a great number of people involved in this. What we've also got, as it says on the slide, is all the awarding body organisations, because they're looking at the development of the qualifications and what's known as the endpoint assessment organisations. So everybody's doing a piece of work as such in the background to bring this together in the very near future. We're aiming, in reality, for September 2026.
Yeah.
What's known as your knowledge, skills and behaviours in these things, we did have a first draft that was done, but as things transpired from CIPHE into Skills England, they sort of had a slightly different agenda, be fair to say. But in actual fact, it's actually made it better. So we've done sort of double the work at this point in the real terms, but it's been a blessing because we've now made an even better qualification structure, haven't we?
Yeah, the knowledge, skills and behaviours, just to give you some idea of how big and how robust this is, the current qualification that we've got on the core aspect, because all we've done is developed a core apprenticeship. There are no pathways. There are no fuel pathways in our apprenticeship. It's a core pathway.
We're developing an engineer.
Yes, we're developing a plumbing engineer, plumbing and heating engineer. That's what we're doing.
Not a technician, an engineer. And I'm saying that on purpose because what you've got in a lot of standards is a phrase technician with a white coat on. I've never seen a plumber wear a white coat. But anyway, on top of that, I might say, here we are on the Bathroom Association, and I would probably suggest the current apprenticeships having a major impact on this side of the industry because of the fact that the level 2 that we're introducing is not there. It was taken away.
Yeah.
And I'll give you another example. 40% of the learners that go to an apprenticeship have been turned away because there's no access on the level 3. So somebody fitting bathrooms, highly skilled work, beautiful work, no qualification, no apprenticeship. Absolutely ridiculous from a plumbing and heating perspective. So bringing back the level 2 as an installer is ideal. We also know 60% of those learners will progress on to level 3.
Yeah.
And we have evidence for that in places like Northern Ireland, where that's currently the status quo anyway. And that is a good thing. So we know there's a need to split it. Why are we doing it? At the same time, there is a big problem with the current level 3 standard. It's fixed for 4 years. As I've shown you the data, 13% are only the number, which is so low, and it's probably less than that this year, of people getting through. The problem is a mixture of things, but one of them is endpoint assessment. Currently, someone on program has now got 7 days endpoint assessment, which is like harder than doing a degree. This is ridiculous. So by changing this around, we can reduce the amount of time to do an endpoint assessment, And we have had recent conversations with Skills England about things generically. So it's not just plumbing and heating, it is apprenticeships general. They're looking at reviewing endpoint assessment because it's clearly a problem across apprenticeships causing a bottleneck. You've also got a very narrow window for when those assessments take place, which is around about now till about September. And that's, of course, utilising the skilled or knowledgeable staff available in that training centre during the summer. Some of them go off for the holiday. They've worked their socks off all year, so why wouldn't they? So it narrows it down again. So all of a sudden, we've got a backlog of learners on programme. And I know people on programme, and this is going to sound awful, 7 years for a 4-year programme. Yeah, many on 6 years. And I've had so many conversations in the last 2 days on this subject where people are absolutely annoyed at not getting their apprenticeship finished in the current format. And that's only going to increase, even though we're launching this, as it says there, in 2026, hopefully. You've got those going through this year and the previous ones that are in that system now, getting to that bottleneck, and it's just going to grow worse. So we want to get this over the line, get it in place, but at the same time, let's all use a bit of common sense here and look at how we can get people off the existing programme into this one and through. As an alternative, for instance, with the fuel pathways, we haven't got that built in because that's part of the problem. But that's not to say they can't do a fuel. So, for instance, we bring out the level 3 engineer with no fuel, but they're fully qualified, heating, hot water, drainage, all that. That's exactly what they're having. But then they can then do, if they wanted to, either the gas apprenticeship, of which currently it's 18 months, but that would be a bit less because of what you've done in plumbing. So that would reduce that time needed for that. You could either do a managed learning programme, which potentially could be funded through the levy changes. So again, there's no cost. Or they just finish up at what they need as a true plumbing and heating engineer. It's the mistake that we think has been made over the years is the fact that we're trying to produce gas engineers. Look around us all today, how many gas boilers are in these halls? Not so many. So this is why also we need to change direction. Back to you, Mike.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons that we went for a level 2 apprenticeship, is that because if you've got somebody that's got a level 2 apprenticeship, they can step off then. If they want to take a break from their education, go and get some experience on site, they can do that. And they come back a couple of years later and do the level 3. Makes you a better engineer because you've got that little bit of experience. But if you are hell-bent on doing the gas, drop off at level 2 and then drop onto the level 3 gas apprenticeship. You'll get your gas quicker than you would by doing the current plumbing apprenticeship, and it's double funded. It will be double funded. So there are pluses to this, whichever way we look, and that's why that's why we pushed it forward, because that's what the employer group wanted us to do, and that's what we're doing, pushing it forward, driving it forward now.
And if we look at the renewable sector, installing the heat pump side of things, basically they're relatively short courses. So at the moment there is a pathway in there in the current apprenticeship, but that's tied in with the 4-year outcome, of which there's no outcome, not getting an outcome. So that's pointless. But having done the new pathways, level 2, level 3, without the fuels, etc., you can easily go and do a renewables training course, let's say with a manufacturer, or wherever it might be, or at your local college, wherever it's there. But it would be a relatively short course, because we've got to remember, a heat pump is an appliance. It's the knowledge of the heating system and design, which is in level 3.
Yep.
That's what you need. And then you go and look at appliances and how you install it, and etc., be it a gas boiler, heat pump, whatever.
The other thing that you think about with the level 3 is you don't just walk away with the diploma in plumbing, in advanced plumbing and heating engineering. You also walk away with your water regulations qualification and your G3 hot water qualification, because they're embedded into the qualification too. So there are a lot of benefits to doing this qual.
We've also highlighted that at level 2, we want to ideally for the learner to get those water regulations. Is that right, at Gateway?
Yeah, if they want, if you've got a level 2 learner and they are bright and want to do their water regulations, it is an elective unit. They can do their water regulations at level 2 if the college think that they're up to doing it. That's not an issue.
So we're open to questions. Over to you on the floor. If you would like to fire away with any questions, we're more than welcome. Yes, sir.
Guided learning hours are about the same as the current. At level 2, it's about the same as phase 1 and 2. Okay, and at level 3, it's slightly less because it's only 18 months rather than the 2 years, so it's slightly less. So you're looking at probably 580 hours at level 2 and probably 600 hours at level 3. But don't hold me to that, because I'm not writing the qual. The AOs are. Well, yeah, well, okay. Yeah, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. Yeah, it's the other way around. 600 at level 2 and about 480, 500 at level 3. Can't hear you, mate.
Hate these things. I was just thinking, if there's going to be low temp heating in level 3, there needs to be some sort of qual attached with that.
There is the CIPHE level 3 qualification that's attached to it. Yeah.
There's going to be like low temp design.
Yes. What we've actually done is we've based Unit 10, which is low temperature hot water heating, the unit, and it's based wholly on the CIPHE level 3 low temperature qualification plus more. So it also encapsulates full design. It encapsulates system knowledge, controls knowledge, balancing, commissioning. It's 10 learning outcomes.
You could, if that incorporated the heat pumps side of it, that answers that. Because my worry is, I think the level 2 is fantastic. I've been calling for that I've had many a rant on LinkedIn about stuff like that. It's how I did it. I think it's the right way to do it, because apprentices get to their second year, they either can't get the evidence for gas or renewables or whatever else. And with the new standards, to pardon my French, it's just shit and doesn't work for what it was meant to.
And you've just answered your own question.
Yeah. My only worry with it is I think what will generally happen is they'll do the level 2 again, which I think is fantastic. And I think then a lot will move to just the 18-month gas for the level 3, and then the renewable bolt-on.
Maybe that will happen.
Yeah.
But we look at the evidence that's in Northern Ireland. The evidence from Northern Ireland doesn't show that. Yeah. The evidence from Northern Ireland shows that 60% of those learners that started at level 2 come back and do the level 3. And
there's also the option of going out of the level 2 when you finished it and stepping into the low carbon heating technician standard.
There's no qual on that though, is there?
So what, sorry?
There's no actual qual on the low carbon, is there?
Well, if you think Skills England's got one qual, qualifications and Skills England, they don't meet. Yeah. We're on a battle to get a qualification in it. It's crazy, isn't it? I know, yeah, it's crazy to be in that situation. Yeah. But the work we're doing and the changes we're making, we are trailblazing, if I'm honest with you, with the changes that's forthcoming. We know some of the things that's going on with the EPA that'll change. That will change the low carbon heating technician apprenticeship, because once you change the EPA, you've got to change your core content. I think they'll go back and want a qualification, if I'm honest, because they've already admitted, hold their hands up, it's not quite right. And it's not. I mean, I reviewed that standard at launch, and we both talked about it and picked holes in it. It's just too wide. It's got commercial, industrial.
There's also something else you've got to think about. It's only the level 3 is 18 months rather than 2 years. Yeah. So what's wrong with you doing your level 3 at 18 months and then doing the heat pump course? What you need to do is talk to your provider, because they might be able to turn around to you and say, I'll do your deal. You sign your apprentice up to do that 18-month level 3 and we'll bolt on. We'll bolt on solar thermal. We'll bolt on heat pumps. The problem is getting the work-based evidence side of it. If you put it in the qual or you put it in the standard, it's got to be taught. And if it can't be taught, then we're back to the situation that we have, where we're turning 40% of the learners away. So what we're doing is we're trying to level the playing field and saying to everybody, if you're with a company that does plumbing and you want to do a plumbing apprenticeship, you can do a plumbing apprenticeship. That's what we're trying to do.
I completely want the level 2. I think it's fantastic. I think
Good.
it should be like that. I really do. I just personally, I feel there needs to be something attached to that. As long as there's a quality to that, because yes, you can see, and you know, I work for Ideal. It's on my T-shirt. As much as and Lou is a massive advocate for heat pumps and low carbon tech, we know boilers are around for the next 40 or 50 years. And I know that the amount of SMEs, especially where I'm from, and that the main qualification at the minute anybody wants is, have you got your axe? Have you got your gas?
Yeah,
that's happy.
but that's not
and
good.
then they'll do the heat pump stuff afterwards. And it's trying to get all that together. But I also want, it's the plumbers that are going to be fitting the heat pumps. And it's bringing back to plumbing level 2 is fantastic.
I'll talk to you all day about this because I'm really passionate about this, because I'm a great gas boiler advocate, okay? But we've got to look at the reality, and the reality is that there are no new gas boilers in new builds. And we've got to look at that. So the only gas boilers you're going to be fitting are those that are already there, okay? Because you won't let you fit, 55 degrees and below. So we've got to look to the future rather than look to the back.
Oh, I am.
Because there's one thing that's not going to run out, okay, and that's electricity, unless, of course, the government, we mess that up as well. But there's very little gas left. There's very little oil left. So where do we go? Fracking is a non-starter because they say it causes earthquakes. Personally, I doubt that, but that's only my opinion. But, we can't stick with... Personally, I'd have liked to have seen hydrogen, but that's another kettle of fish.
And I am a massive advocate for low time. I am a massive advocate for heat pumps. I train people on them. Do you know what I mean? It's and I'd love to see more and more young lads coming through and doing it all. It's the people we've got to convince are the current directors of the small businesses to get the guys and girls on those apprenticeships in the first place, to not focus on the gas side of it.
Absolutely.
But annoyingly, because the boilers are still going to be around for the next 40, 50 years, they've still got loads of customers that need a service every year, all this, that and the other. So a lot of them, and the guys that I speak to that come through our training centres, I want my guys to be doing the heat pump stuff, but my bread and butter for the next probably 20 years at the minute, it's still going to be the gas.
Why can't you do the both?
Exactly. And then I get them to do fridge stuff as well. So it's trying to get them to do more stuff. And it's trying to convince everyone. And I'm the only one with a microphone all the time, so I'm give it back.
Anybody else? Great conversation, mate.
I just wanted to ask about the timing. You said you're thinking September 2026.
Well, it's not us. We originally wanted September 25,
Right.
but CIPHE, as it was then, it's now obviously Skills England. They turned around and went, that's unachievable. We can't do it by September 25. It's going to be September 26. There's still an awful lot of work to do.
So is that confirmed or is that still tentative?
No, that's the target date.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for.
Okay.
No. Right, thanks very much, people. That was absolutely brilliant. Thanks to Ideal as well. He wasn't the plant, by the way. That was genuine questions.
I'm not